You're listening to Living in Spain podcasts with David Wright.
Hi guys, my name's David Wright and welcome to another one of my podcasts. Today I'm going to be talking to you about moving to Spain and some tips I've got for you and how to stay focused on your dream if it's moving to Spain. So there's loads of people out there that are giving information advice at the moment, and there's loads of uncertainty, whether it's on the TV or news, and people are worried and got some fears about moving to Spain in the new year. There's lots on the TV and social media at the moment, what with Brexit, the virus and travel restrictions and all the new costs and paperwork that you're going to have in the new year if you're moving to Spain. There's loads of experts or so-called experts online at the moment that are painting a bit of a gloomy picture about moving to Spain and how hard it's going to be in the new year and all the extra paperwork, restrictions and costs you're going to have. But the truth is that next year there is going to be loads of new paperwork. There is going to be requirements, rules and regulations and probably a shitload more of paperwork as well. That's for sure here in Spain. If you've lived any amount of years in Spain, you know they love their bureaucracy and paperwork here. So that's something you're just going to have to get used to. It's going to take some time for both governments to sort out the new standard way of going about things here in Spain. This last year, almost every local authority had their own rules, regulations and requirements for getting residency here. I saw a few British people here that were moving to Spain in the last few months or so that their requirements were completely different depending on different areas they were, and I saw anything from 5,000, 6,000 all the way up to 18 or 20,000 euros in a bank as a requirement to get in your residency here in Spain. And this is even after the local Spanish government's recommended rate was 5,500 per person in a bank in the UK or Spain, or funds to that amount. So the 5,500 was their set out standard, but there were all different areas of Spain were asking pretty much what they liked, and it really depended on who you got on the day and what department and where you were. All very confusing and very difficult to get any sort of standard at all. In the last few months it was even worse. As some of you know, I've got a good friend here who has managed my business dealings, my property purchases and my residence and everything else here over the last 18 years, and he's been a very good friend of mine, and his name is Alejandro, and he's also the British consulate here in Almeria, so a really good handy guy to know. Alejandro tells me that from what he is seeing, both the British and Spanish governments here are both very keen to make it as simple as possible in the forthcoming year for people moving to Spain, especially for the British people. It's going to take some time and months to create a more standard system and a uniform set of rules and regulations for residencia. Remember, Spain wants the British people to come here, as they've lost loads of money in the last few years from people putting their plans to move to Spain or buying property here on hold. So, you know, both it's to the advantages of both Spanish and the British governments to make these plans, these regulations, these rules and requirements as standard and as easy for the British people to follow as possible. I've seen all sorts of crazy posts online saying that Brits will no longer be able to move to Spain or live in Spain or work in Spain in the new year. And this is just ridiculous. Sure, there's going to be some more rules, paperwork and conditions, but there's still going to be people moving here to Spain. British people are still going to be moving here to Spain long after Brexit, whether it goes through with deals or without deals or whatever sort of deals they come up with. British people are still going to be allowed to live and work in Spain, that's for sure. At the end of January, around the end of January, I've arranged with Alejandro, the British consulate here, to have an interview with him, to sit down and have a chat about the new requirements, the new rules and regulations, and anything else that might have changed as soon as Brexit's finished. So, you know, it's going to be changing constantly throughout the year, but I'm going to have a chat with him, and my members of my Facebook group and my blog are going to be the first to know the new things that are in place to help the British people when they're moving to Spain. So stand by for that. That's going to be around the end of the January period. So I will be uploading that to the podcast or video or both and posting it on my Facebook page. So look out for that, guys. 18 years ago, when I was first planning to move to Spain, there was loads of rules and papers I needed, and I had absolutely no idea of where or how to start this. Back then I didn't speak Spanish, so it cost me several €100 to pay somebody to do it all for me. And even then it was still very stressful and confusing. Everyone who has moved here to Spain has been through these, and some find it easier than others. It's just something you have to go through. It's like getting over some sort of initiation when you move to Spain. Everyone that moves to Spain has different ideas about where is best and what they are looking for as their new life here in Spain. People will tell you to rent first. Some say buy straight away. Some like inland and the mountains. Some like the beach, or some like something in between. In our Facebook group and on my blog, we have some very knowledgeable members that have been here several years. They've lived here in Spain and travelled around Spain, and some of them have lived in many different areas of Spain. The trick is to look for these people, find these members, follow these members, and see what they've done and ask them what they did and what they needed to live that lifestyle. The trick is to find people that are interested in the same sort of things that you're interested in. If they're going to be retired here, then follow retired people. If they're going to be working here, they're younger families, they've got children, then follow these people. Ask them what they did. Ask them what they needed, how much it cost them, things like that. I set up a mentorship group on my Facebook page, and this is a place where you can reach out to other members, find members that are living these sort of lifestyles that you want to live here in Spain, and ask for them for their advice and their help. You can learn so much from. It's just going to save you time, money, energy and stress, and these people are willing to help you for free. So check it out on the mentor page, the mentor group on our Facebook page. One of the things I recommend to people that are moving to Spain is to make lists. Make loads of lists. Make a list of places that you think you like the look of, somewhere that you might be looking to move to, an area, and research that area. Write it down, write the lists of the places and look them up on the internet. Get as much info on all these places that you like. Start to research these things online. There's loads of resources online to get as much information as you can on these different areas. They might sound great, they might look great and photographs and stuff, but the more you dive into it and research, it might give you some more insight into whether that is really the right place for you. The more of these lists you make, the more of these questions that you write down, the things that you think you need, the more you start to research it, and then you can refine these lists. You can refine the list to make it more accustomed to your personal needs. Making lists also helps you focus on the needs of the things that you need to do, the things that you need to do in the right order as well. So even if you're not sure, just start writing down these lists, and when you think you know what to do, you'll come up with something else, and then you can refine that list as you go along. The most important thing I always tell people here is learn Spanish. Now it sounds pretty obvious really, but us British people as a whole are pretty lazy when it comes to learning a new language. As children at school and colleges here, when I was at school anyway, we learnt some basic French, but it wasn't really much, and in the lessons here to learn languages, English people aren't really geared up for the children and the colleges to learn a language here like the Europeans are. So learning Spanish really will help you more than you know. I would say that probably I spent several hundreds, if not thousands, when I first moved to Spain because I couldn't speak Spanish properly, and I had to pay other people to help me with many things like my residencia, buying a car here, bank accounts, doctors, dentists, setting up utility bills, water, gas, light and electric, things like that, and reading letters that I had from banks and businesses and stuff like that. So, if you don't speak Spanish or understand these things, you're going to have to pay somebody to help you out and do this. So, use this time now in the new year, before you even move to Spain if you can, to learn some basic words and phrases. Something I always try and tell people as well is it's very daunting when you first start learning Spanish, especially if you're not in proper classes, or even if you are in classes, you're going to be quite disheartened at first, and it's going to take a long time before you feel confident enough to use the Spanish that you are learning. And something that I did here is try and learn related words to the lifestyle that you're going to live here in Spain when you move here to Spain. So for instance, if you're going to be retired in Spain, then learn things that you're going to use as a retired person. Learn how to make a doctor's appointment, a dentist's appointment, a trip to the opticians. Think about the questions you're going to need to ask and what they're going to ask you and the possible replies that you're going to need. Look up these words and phrases and write them down and start learning these. This will give you confidence to even start doing some basic Spanish conversation when you come here. If you're going to be working here or looking for work in Spain, then start to learn words and phrases related to the sort of work that you're going to be doing or you're going to be looking for. When I started learning Spanish, I started taking lessons in a class, and I really couldn't get on with it. I knew that learning all the verbs, past, present and future was really important, but this wasn't helping me when I first started here, and I was setting up a business as a carpenter, so it was going to take me years before I could have any sort of competence in my Spanish to use it for my work. So I ended up paying for private lessons. I was having less lessons, but private lessons, and more related to me as a carpenter. The words and phrases, the things that I was learning was words and phrases that I could use on a daily basis related to my work, like ordering my wood, my materials, my tools, quotes and pricing and speaking to customers. All these things helped me build up an extensive vocabulary which was related to my work, and it gave me confidence to speak and use these words on a daily basis. And the more I used them, the more confident I got, and the more I added to them and corrected them as I went along. So this is really something that has really stuck with me and helped me out. My verbs are still terrible here, and my Spanish wife picks me up on my verbs all the time, but although it is correct, it's important to get the verbs right. Like for example, the verb to eat, comer, comáis, comemos, comen, past, present, future. If you can say the word comer, to eat, basically you're going to get understood. So, this all comes into place. Learning the words, even if you get it the wrong way or the wrong verbs, get yourself understood, and then people will help correct you, and you can correct yourself as time goes along. But the most important thing is practicing on a regular basis what you're learning. It will help you save you time, money and stress more than you know now. So guys, learning Spanish, pretty obvious really, but it's probably the number one thing that's going to help you more than you know when you first move to Spain. And it's not just for work or living here. You're going to use Spanish to find out about people, make new friends, and it's just going to help you to integrate more with it. So yeah, learning Spanish. There's loads of tips and advice that people are going to give you the best way to learn Spanish, but what I'll tell you is, have lessons on a private basis if you can afford it, because what you're going to be learning is more related to you, and you will learn faster. Even though it's costing you more money, you will learn probably twice as much as you would in a class, and it's stuff that you're going to feel confident with and happy with to learn. So private lessons, I think personally, is a great way to go. And also, if you haven't got a lot of money to spend on lessons, then download the apps, learn online. There's loads of resources online where you can learn Spanish or start learning Spanish, and there's loads of free apps out there that you can download. And what I did, I downloaded loads of these kiddies games and things like that, learning fruit and vegetables and numbers. And yeah, you're going to get bored of them after a while, but just delete them and download another one. There's loads of free apps, and a couple of the ones I downloaded I found were quite good, so I paid the upgrade and got access to more of the information on those apps. I mean, some of these upgrades, you're looking at €2 or €3 to upgrade to the full app. So, if you find something you like, stick with it. It really does help, just practicing daily. Have it on your headphones when you're out at the gym, when you're out walking a dog, when you're driving in your car. Just have it constantly going in your brain, and it does sink in eventually, and it will be the most important thing you do when you're moving to Spain. So guys, I hope these tips have been of some information to you, some help. I hope you've gained something new, some new ideas or some inspiration from this podcast. And if you have, please just leave us a like or a quick comment in the box below, and subscribe to further new episodes, and I'll speak to you soon.
If you have enjoyed this podcast by David Wright, then you will love his new books. Out now on Amazon and Kindle, packed with money-saving tips and information on living and working in Spain. Just go to livinginspainbooks.com. David also has a popular blog for expats in Spain. Come and take a look now at britishexpatsinspain.com.